The sun hung low over suburban Denver, Colorado, casting a golden glow across the streets of Centennial on a warm Labor Day weekend in 2025. The town buzzed with the energy of the annual community fair, a cherished tradition that drew families from every corner of the city. American flags fluttered proudly outside shops and homes, their stars and stripes catching the breeze alongside red, white, and blue bunting strung across lampposts. The air carried the smoky sweetness of barbecues firing up for backyard gatherings, mingled with the distant laughter of kids chasing each other through the fair's petting zoo, just a mile away at Centennial Center Park. It was a perfect snapshot of small-town America community, celebration, and the promise of a long weekend stretching out like an open road. At the heart of this festive chaos stood Freedom Bank, a squat brick building on South University Boulevard, its glass doors reflecting the late afternoon light. Inside, the lobby hummed with activity lines snaked toward the tellers. Customers shuffled through paperwork, and the low hum of conversation competed with the occasional ding of a phone notification. For most, it was just another errand before the holiday kicked into full gear. But for one woman stepping through those doors, it was the culmination of a dream 3 years in the making. Emily Dawson, 28, paused just inside the entrance, her heart thumping with a mix of pride and nerves. In her hands, she clutched a manila folder stuffed with carefully organized documents, each page a testament to her determination. Emily had Down syndrome, a fact that shaped her life but never defined it. To her, it was just one piece of a much bigger puzzle, a puzzle she'd spent years assembling with grit, heart, and an unyielding belief in herself. Today, she was here to open her first savings account, a milestone that felt like planting a flag in the ground of her independence. It wasn't just about the money. It was about proving to herself, to the world, that she could carve out her own place in it. Emily's journey hadn't been easy. Growing up, she'd heard the whispers, seen the sidelong glances, felt the weight of assumptions that she couldn't keep up. But she'd also had a family who believed in her, teachers who pushed her, and a community that, more often than not, cheered her on. After high school, she'd landed a job at the Tattered Cover, Denver's beloved independent bookstore, shelving novels and chatting with customers about her favorite cozy mysteries. For 3 years, she'd squirreled away every tip, every birthday check, every extra dollar from her paycheck, all for a dream that burned bright in her heart: an online shop selling her handmade bookmarks. In her cozy, one-bedroom apartment, just 2 miles from the bank, Emily's vision took shape. The walls were a gallery of her life family photos from camping trips in Rocky Mountain National Park, a framed certificate from her job training program, and a vision board bursting with magazine clippings of craft supplies and website designs. Sticky notes dotted every surface, each one a reminder or a mantra. Check bank forms. Save $50 this month. You are enough. Her coffee table was a workshop, littered with scraps of ribbon, pressed flowers, and tiny beads she wove into bookmarks that were as vibrant as her spirit. To Emily, each bookmark was a story, a gift, a piece of herself she wanted to share with the world. But to make it real, she needed a business account, a foundation for her future. She'd spent weeks preparing for this moment. Late at night, after her shifts, she'd pored over Freedom Bank's website, decoding the requirements for a savings account. She'd printed the forms, filled them out in her neat, deliberate handwriting, and double-checked every box with the precision of a jeweler. She'd called the bank's helpline, jotting down answers in a spiral notebook labeled Bank Plan. When doubt crept in, those old voices, whispering she wasn't ready, she'd stand in front of her bathroom mirror, square her shoulders, and repeat her mantra: "Today is the day. Emily, you can do this." And now, here she was, standing in Freedom Bank, the weight of her folder grounding her like an anchor. Emily's outfit was chosen with care, a navy blouse she'd picked because it felt professional, jeans that fit just right, and sneakers polished to a shine. Her brown hair was pulled into a neat ponytail, and a small, silver necklace, a gift from her mom, engraved with "Dream Big," glinted at her collarbone. She adjusted her grip on the folder, her fingers brushing the worn edges, and took a deep breath. The line ahead stretched longer than she'd expected, but she didn't mind. She used the wait to rehearse her words. "Hello. I'd like to open a savings account, please. Here are my forms." Simple, clear, confident. She could do this. As she inched forward, Emily caught snippets of the world around her. A man in a Broncos cap grumbled about the wait. A woman juggled a toddler and a stack of deposit slips. The tellers, faces tight with stress, typed furiously at their stations. Outside, the fair's music floated faintly through the open door, a country band covering a Garth Brooks classic. It was all so ordinary, so American, so alive. Emily felt a swell of belonging, a certainty that this was her moment, her place, her shot at the American dream. But as she neared the counter, a flicker of unease stirred. She noticed the quick glances from other customers, the way some eyes lingered a beat too long. She'd felt it before: the curiosity, the assumptions, the silent questions about what she was capable of. She pushed it down, focusing on the goal. Her dream was bigger than their doubts. Her folder was proof. Her savings were proof. Her heart was proof. She was ready. As Emily stepped up to the teller's window, her heart soared with possibility, her smile bright as the Colorado sun. She had no idea that her biggest test was yet to come, a challenge that would test her courage, shake her faith, and ultimately reveal the strength she'd always carried within. The lobby of Freedom Bank in suburban Denver pulsed with the frenetic energy of a Labor Day weekend in 2025. The holiday rush had turned the space into a pressure cooker. Lines of customers snaked toward the tellers, their impatience palpable in muttered complaints and restless foot-tapping. The clatter of keyboards mingled with the faint strains of a country band playing at the nearby community fair, drifting through the open door. Emily Dawson stood in the queue, her manila folder pressed against her chest, its edges worn from weeks of careful handling. Her rehearsed words looped in her mind. "Hello. I'd like to open a savings account, please." She felt the weight of curious glances from a few customers, their eyes lingering on her deliberate steps. But her focus remained unshakable. Her dream, an online shop for her handmade bookmarks, was worth every second of discomfort. When her turn came, Emily approached the counter, facing teller Laura Bennett, whose taut expression betrayed the strain of a relentless shift. Laura was drowning in the bank's quotas, each transaction a race against an unforgiving clock. "What do you need?" she asked, her voice sharp, eyes barely lifting from her screen. Emily slid her folder forward, her smile tentative but warm. "I'd like to open a savings account, please. Here are my forms." Laura skimmed the documents, her brow furrowing almost instantly. "These aren't right," she said, shoving them back across the counter. "You missed sections. You need a guardian to fix this." Emily's heart stuttered, confusion clouding her hazel eyes. She'd spent weeks studying Freedom Bank's website, checking every box with meticulous care. "I followed the instructions," she said, her voice steady but soft. "I'm my own guardian. Can you show me what's wrong?" Laura's sigh cut through the air, her patience fraying as the line behind Emily grew restless. "You're slowing us down," she snapped, her voice carrying across the lobby, drawing heads. "Come back with someone who can help." The words stung like a slap, sparking whispers from the crowd. "She shouldn't be here alone," muttered a man in a flannel shirt, his tone dripping with judgment. A woman nearby nodded, her lips pursed in disapproval. Emily's hands trembled, but she planted her feet, her silver necklace "Dream Big" catching the light as she straightened. "I know my rights," she said, louder now, her voice quivering with resolve. "Please check again." Laura's eyes flicked to the growing queue, her tone turning icy. "You're holding everyone up. Wait over there." She waved Emily to a chair by the wall, the gesture amplifying her embarrassment. Emily's cheeks burned, but she refused to crumble. As she moved to the chair, a young customer named Jake pulled out his phone, starting a live stream. "This is so wrong," he murmured to his followers, his camera capturing Emily's hunched shoulders. The video began to spread, comments trickling in. "Why are they treating her like that? This is messed up." In a quiet corner of the lobby, Keanu Reeves sat, blending into the crowd with a baseball cap and sunglasses. He was in Denver for a friend's art gallery opening, slipping into the bank for a quick errand. But his attention had locked onto Emily from the moment she entered, her pride radiating despite the stares. Now, watching Laura's dismissal, he felt a familiar anger stir, one rooted in his own experiences with people underestimated. Like a family member he'd seen judged unfairly. Keanu adjusted his cap, his jaw tight, and decided it was time to act. As Laura turned to the next customer, he stood, his voice slicing through the lobby's hum with calm authority. "Hold on. Why are you dismissing her? Those forms look fine to me." He approached the counter, removing his sunglasses, and the room stilled. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "Is that Keanu Reeves?" Laura froze, her irritation morphing into confusion. "Sir, it's just protocol," she stammered, her voice faltering. Keanu picked up Emily's folder, skimming the pages with deliberate care. "These are correct," he said, his tone firm but measured. "Every box checked, every signature in place. So, what's the real issue here?" Emily, her heart pounding, stepped forward, her voice gaining strength. "Section 4. 1 of your policy says I don't need a guardian. I checked." Keanu nodded, a small smile breaking through. "She's done her homework. Have you?" The crowd stirred, and Jake's livestream exploded. Hashtags like "No, respect for Emily" trending across Denver. Comments flooded, and Keanu's calling them out. "She knows her stuff." The bank manager, David Patel, emerged from his office, his smile strained as he sensed the escalating tension. "Let's calm down, folks. We're just ensuring accuracy," he said, his voice smooth but unconvincing. Keanu's gaze locked onto him. Unwavering. Accuracy. Or bias. "You're making this harder for her than anyone else." Emily, emboldened, added, "I saved for 3 years. I'm a customer, not a problem." Her words hung in the air, clear and unyielding, silencing the whispers. Jake's camera caught every second, the live stream now reaching thousands, with disability advocates chiming in. "This is systemic, fix it." The lobby's mood shifted as customers began to speak up, their voices weaving a chorus of shared frustration. A single mom in line said, "They rushed my dad last month because he's hard of hearing. It's not right." A veteran in a worn jacket nodded. "I got the same excuses after my injury. They don't care." The murmurs grew louder, a collective demand for fairness. Jake's live stream amplified their words, with viewers tweeting, "Schweier Freedom Bank fail. Do better." A junior teller, Mia, stepped forward, her voice shaky but sincere. "I'm sorry, Emily. We're trained to move fast. But I should have helped. It's not right." Her apology softened the tension, and a few customers nodded, their anger tempered by her honesty. David, cornered by the crowd and the viral video, ran a hand through his hair, his composure cracking. "All right, we've let efficiency trump fairness," he admitted, his voice heavy. "That's on us." He turned to Laura, his tone sharp. "Process her account." Now, Laura, her face flushed, took Emily's forms and began typing, her movements quick but subdued. Emily stood tall, her necklace glinting, her folder still in hand. When Laura handed her the receipt, she said quietly, Your account's open. I'm sorry. Emily took it, her fingers steady, her voice firm. I did it. But it shouldn't have been this hard. The crowd erupted in applause, a wave of support that lifted her spirits. Keanu smiled, his voice low but resonant. You showed them what strength looks like. Emily. David raised his hands, addressing the room. We'll start sensitivity training next week and review our policies. This won't happen again. Keanu's eyes narrowed, his tone unyielding. It's not just policies, it's mindset. Respect starts with seeing people, not quotas. Jake's livestream captured the moment, sparking a local movement, as viewers demanded broader reforms. Emily, clutching her receipt, felt a weight lift, her dream now one step closer, her courage a beacon for everyone watching. The hum of Freedom Bank's lobby in suburban Denver was a chaotic symphony on that Labor Day weekend in 2025. The holiday rush had stretched the line of customers nearly to the glass doors, their impatience crackling like static. Tellers typed furiously, their faces tight under the weight of quotas, while the faint twang of a country band from the nearby community fair slipped through the open entrance. Emily Dawson sat in a chair by the wall, her manila folder clutched tightly, her cheeks still flushed from the sting of Laura Bennett's dismissal. The teller's words, "You're slowing us down. Come back with someone who can help," echoed in her mind, amplified by the whispers of onlookers. She shouldn't be here alone, a man in a flannel shirt had muttered, his voice carrying judgment. Yet Emily's resolve held firm, her silver necklace engraved with "Dream Big" glinting as she reorganized her meticulously prepared forms, whispering to herself, I know my rights. Across the crowded lobby, Keanu Reeves sat quietly, blending into the sea of customers with a worn baseball cap pulled low and sunglasses perched on his nose. He was in Denver for a low-key visit to a friend's art gallery opening, a rare escape from the Hollywood spotlight. He'd slipped into Freedom Bank for a personal errand, transferring funds for a charity he quietly supported, hoping to stay unnoticed. But his attention had been drawn to Emily from the moment she entered, her pride and determination radiating despite the curious stares she attracted. Keanu, whose own life had been touched by loved ones underestimated for their differences, recognized the spark in her. Now, as he watched Laura's sharp tone and dismissive gesture cut into Emily's confidence, his jaw tightened. He'd seen this before: people judged not for who they were, but for what others assumed they couldn't do. His fingers tapped the armrest, his mind weighing the moment. Enough was enough. As Laura turned to the next customer, waving Emily's ordeal aside like a minor inconvenience, Keanu stood, his movement deliberate, his voice calm, but carrying the weight of quiet authority, cut through the lobby's din. Hold on. Why are you dismissing this customer? Her forms look fine to me. He stepped toward the counter, his long strides purposeful, and removed his sunglasses. The room froze. A ripple of gasps spread through the crowd. Is that Keanu Reeves? Whispers buzzed. It's him. What's he doing here? Laura's irritation dissolved into confusion, her eyes widening as she registered the face of the Hollywood star. Sir, it's just protocol, she stammered, her voice faltering under the unexpected scrutiny. Keanu reached for Emily's folder, left abandoned on the counter, and opened it with deliberate care, skimming the pages. His brow furrowed slightly, not in doubt, but in focus, as he traced the neatly filled boxes and signatures. These are correct, he said, his tone firm but even, holding up a form for emphasis. Every field, every signature, exactly as required. So what's the real issue here? The question hung in the air, sharp and unyielding. Emily, her heart pounding, felt a surge of courage. She stepped forward, her voice trembling but clear. Section 4.1 of your policy says I don't need a guardian. I checked. Her words, grounded in weeks of preparation, landed with precision, silencing the murmurs around her. Keanu turned to her, a small smile breaking through his serious expression, his eyes warm with encouragement. "She's done her homework, have you?" he asked, directing the question back to Laura, his voice a mix of challenge and calm. The crowd stirred, a low hum of agreement rippling through. Jake, the young customer who'd been live-streaming Emily's ordeal, zoomed in on his phone, his feed exploding with activity. Keanu's calling them out. He whispered to his followers. The hashtag, Respect for Emily, trending across Denver's social media. Comments flooded in. "She knows her stuff. This is why Keanu's the best." The video spread like wildfire, reaching thousands within minutes, with disability advocates and local influencers, amplifying the call for justice. "This isn't just one bank, it's everywhere. Fix it." Laura, flustered, fumbled for a response, her hands hovering over her keyboard. "We just need to ensure everything's accurate," she said, her voice barely audible. Before she could continue, the bank manager, David Patel, emerged from his office, his smile polished but strained as he sensed the escalating tension. "Let's calm down, folks," he said, raising his hands in a placating gesture. "We're just ensuring accuracy for everyone's benefit." Keanu's gaze locked onto him, unflinching, his presence commanding the room without raising his voice. "Accuracy or bias," he countered, his words cutting through David's deflection. "You're making this harder for her than anyone else." Why Emily, emboldened by Keanu's support, took another step forward, her folder still in hand, her voice steadier now. "I worked 3 years for this," she said, her eyes fixed on David. "I saved every dollar, studied every rule. I deserve to be here." Her words carried the weight of her journey, 3 years of shelving books at the tattered cover, crafting bookmarks late into the night, dreaming of an online shop that would carry her name. The crowd's murmurs shifted, some nodding in admiration, others whispering support. Jake's live stream captured the moment, the comments turning fervent. "She's a rock star, fresh Freedom Bank fail." David adjusted his tie, his composure wavering under the collective scrutiny. "We're not singling anyone out," he insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. Keanu crossed his arms, leaning slightly forward, his tone unwavering. "Then why is she sitting there, humiliated, while her forms are perfect? This isn't about protocol, it's about who you choose to value." The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Jake's live stream surged past 10,000 viewers, with local news outlets picking up the story, their notifications pinging in the background. Advocates tweeted systemic bias in plain sight. "Freedom Bank, do better." Emily clutched her folder tighter, her resolve a beacon in the tense lobby. Keanu glanced at her, his nod subtle but affirming, as if to say, "You've got this." The confrontation wasn't just about her account anymore. It was about every person who had been dismissed, underestimated, or pushed aside. The crowd's energy shifted, a few customers stepping closer, their faces a mix of curiosity and solidarity. Jake's camera panned across the scene, capturing the turning tide. In 2025, where social media could spark movements in hours, Emily's stand and Keanu's support was becoming a rallying cry, one that Freedom Bank couldn't ignore. The air in Freedom Bank's lobby crackled with tension. On that Labor Day weekend in 2025, the hum of the holiday rush, now overshadowed by a confrontation that had brought the room to a standstill. Emily Dawson stood near the counter, her manila folder gripped tightly, her hazel eyes steady despite the ordeal she'd endured. Laura Bennett's dismissive words, "You're slowing us down. Come back with someone who can help," still lingered, but Emily's resolve, bolstered by Keanu Reeves' intervention, held firm. Keanu, his baseball cap now tucked into his pocket, stood beside her, his calm presence an anchor in the storm. His challenge to Laura and manager David Patel, accuracy, or bias, had shifted the lobby's energy, the crowd's murmurs turning from curiosity to solidarity. Jake, a young customer live streaming the scene, zoomed in on Emily, his feed buzzing with thousands of viewers and the hashtag #Respect for Emily trending across Denver. The stage was set for a reckoning, one that would ripple far beyond the bank's glass doors. As Keanu's words hung in the air, the crowd began to stir, their voices rising like a chorus finding its harmony. A single mom in a denim jacket, her toddler tugging at her hand, stepped forward, her voice sharp with frustration. "They rushed my dad last month because he's hard of hearing," she said, her eyes flicking to David. "He left feeling like a burden." "That's not right." A veteran in a faded army cap nodded, his gravelly voice cutting through the murmurs. "I got the same excuses after my TBI. They acted like I was too slow to matter. The revelation struck a chord, and more customers joined in, their stories weaving a tapestry of shared indignity." A college student added, "My cousin with dyslexia was told to figure it out online. It's like they don't want to deal with anyone who's different." The lobby buzzed with agreement, a collective realization that Emily's struggle was not hers alone, but part of a pattern etched into the bank's practices. Jake's livestream amplified their voices, his phone capturing every word as the comments poured in. "This is systemic Shatter Freedom Bank fail." The video surged past 15,000 viewers, with local influencers and disability advocates tweeting furiously, "Banks need to serve everyone, not just the easy customers." In 2025, where social media could turn a moment into a movement, the crowd's stories were fuel, igniting a demand for change. Emily, her folder still in hand, felt the shift, her heart lifting as strangers became allies. Her silver necklace dream big caught the light, a quiet reminder of the dream she'd fought for, an online shop for her handmade bookmarks, built on 3 years of savings from her bookstore job. Amid the rising voices, a junior teller named Mia stepped forward, her hands twisting nervously. Her face, usually hidden behind a professional smile, was flushed with guilt. "I'm sorry, Emily," she said, her voice trembling but sincere. "I saw what was happening and I should have helped sooner. We're pushed to move fast, quotas, timers, all of it, but that's no excuse." Her apology landed softly, a crack in the bank's facade, and a few customers nodded, their anger tempered by her honesty. Mia's words were a bridge, humanizing the staff and exposing the pressures that had shaped their actions. Emily met her gaze, her expression softening, and gave a small nod, as if to say, "I hear you." David Patel, the manager, stood cornered, his polished demeanor unraveling under the weight of the crowd's scrutiny and Jake's relentless livestream. He ran a hand through his hair, his voice heavy with resignation. "All right, we've let efficiency trump fairness," he admitted, the words spilling out like a confession. "That's on us. We need to do better." The admission was a turning point, and the crowd's murmurs quieted, waiting for action. David turned to Laura, his tone sharp but controlled. "Process Ms. Dawson's account. Now." Laura, her face flushed with a mix of shame and defeat, took Emily's forms and began typing, her fingers moving quickly, her eyes avoiding the crowd. Emily stood tall, her posture unwavering, her folder now resting at her side. The moment felt surreal. Her dream, so nearly derailed, was within reach. When Laura slid the receipt across the counter, her voice was subdued, almost remorseful. "Your account's open." "I'm sorry." Emily took the receipt, her fingers steady, and held it like a trophy, its crisp edges a testament to her resilience. She looked at it, then at the crowd, her voice firm despite the tremor beneath it. "I did it. But it shouldn't have been this hard." The words carried the weight of her 3-year journey, every saved dollar, every late-night study session, every doubt she'd pushed aside. The crowd erupted in applause, a wave of cheers and claps that echoed through the lobby, drowning out the hum of the holiday rush. Keanu, standing nearby, smiled, his eyes warm with admiration. "You showed them what strength looks like. Emily," he said, his voice low but resonant, carrying the quiet power that had made him a beloved figure. The crowd's applause grew louder, and Jake's live stream captured the moment, comments flooding in, "She's a hero. Keanu's right strength." Emily's cheeks flushed, but her smile was radiant, her dream now a reality, her courage a beacon for everyone watching. David raised his hands, addressing the room, his tone earnest but chastened. "We'll start sensitivity training next week and review our customer policies. This won't happen again." The promise was a start, but Keanu's gaze remained steady, his voice cutting through the room. "Respect isn't a policy, it's a mindset," he said, his words a challenge and a vow. "I'll follow up to make sure this sticks." His commitment sent a ripple through the crowd, a reminder that change required vigilance. Jake's video, now trending nationally, sparked a local movement, with Denver advocates pushing for bank reforms and accessibility audits. Tweets and posts multiplied. "Raj, respect for Emily is just the beginning. Let's hold all businesses accountable." Emily clutched her receipt, her heart swelling with a mix of pride and relief. The crowd's support, Mia's apology, Keanu's stand, they had turned her solitary fight into a collective triumph. The lobby, once a place of humiliation, now felt like a community, united by a shared demand for fairness. Outside, the community fair's music swelled, a fitting backdrop to a moment that would change Freedom Bank and Emily forever. 6 months had passed since that fateful Labor Day weekend in 2025, when Emily Dawson stood in the lobby of Freedom Bank in suburban Denver, clutching a manila folder and a dream that refused to be dimmed. The memory of her humiliation, Laura Bennett's dismissive words, the crowd's whispers, the weight of being underestimated had transformed into something else, entirely a spark that ignited change, not just for her, but for a community and beyond. Emily, now 28, stood taller, her hazel eyes bright with a confidence forged through courage. Her journey, once a solitary fight, had become a beacon of hope, proving that one voice, backed by a collective stand, could shift the world. Emily's dream of an online shop selling her handmade bookmarks had blossomed into reality. Her savings, painstakingly gathered over 3 years from her job at the Tattered Cover bookstore, formed the foundation. But it was Jake's viral livestream capturing her stand against bias, and Keanu Reeves' powerful intervention that lit the fuse. The video, tagged "Respect for Emily," had spread far beyond Denver, inspiring a crowdfunding campaign that poured in thousands of dollars from supporters across the country. Strangers left messages. "Your courage moved me. Keep shining, Emily." With those funds, Emily launched Emily's Bookmarks, a website bursting with her creations, vibrant designs woven with pressed flowers, ribbons, and beads, each one a story of resilience. The shop thrived, with orders coming from as far as Maine and California, and Emily's cozy apartment became a workshop of dreams. Her coffee table perpetually scattered with craft supplies and sticky notes tracking shipments. Her growth extended beyond her business. In February 2026, Emily stood on a stage at a Denver community event, the annual Inclusion Summit held at Centennial Center Park. Under a canopy of twinkling lights, she faced a crowd of hundreds, families, advocates, and local leaders, her voice steady as she shared her story. "I used to think I had to prove I was enough," she said, her silver Dream Big necklace catching the light. "But that day at the bank, I learned I already was. Everyone deserves a chance to be seen, to be heard, to belong." The audience erupted in applause, many wiping away tears, inspired by her journey from humiliation to empowerment. For Emily, Speaking out was more than advocacy. It was a reclaiming of her power, a way to ensure others with disabilities wouldn't face the barriers she had. Freedom Bank, too, had changed. The fallout from Jake's livestream, which garnered over 1 million views, forced a reckoning. Under pressure from Denver residents and national advocates, the bank's regional leadership replaced David Patel with a new manager, committed to inclusion. By early 2026, Freedom Bank had implemented mandatory sensitivity training for all staff, focusing on serving customers with disabilities, seniors, and diverse needs. They partnered with local advocacy groups, including the Colorado Disability Coalition, to overhaul customer policies, ensuring accessibility in everything from forms to service interactions. In a surprising turn, the bank invited Emily to consult on these reforms, recognizing her ordeal as a catalyst for change. She visited the bank not as a customer, but as an expert offering insights on clear communication and respectful service. "It's about listening," she told the staff, her voice firm. "Really listening." The employees, including a remorseful Laura Bennett, nodded, her words sinking in. The impact rippled through Denver, fueled by the Shah Respect for Emily movement. What began as a hashtag grew into a grassroots campaign, with residents advocating for equitable service across businesses, banks, restaurants, even retail stores. Community forums sprang up, hosted at libraries and coffee shops, where people shared stories of exclusion and brainstormed solutions. Local news outlets covered the movement, with headlines like "One Woman Stand Sparks Citywide Change." The Denver City Council, inspired by the momentum, proposed accessibility audits for public-facing businesses, a policy dubbed Emily's Law by supporters. The movement wasn't just about policy. It was a cultural shift, a reminder that inclusion wasn't a checkbox, but a commitment to seeing every person's worth. True to his word, Keanu Reeves stayed connected. In the weeks following the incident, he'd quietly followed up with Freedom Bank, ensuring their promises weren't empty. In January 2026, Emily received a handwritten note from him, delivered to her apartment. "You're changing the world. Emily," it read, "keep shining." The note, now pinned to her vision board, was a reminder of the ally who'd amplified her voice when she needed it most. Keanu's involvement, understated, yet impactful, reflected his real-life humility, resonating with a U.S. audience that admired his authenticity in an era of fleeting celebrity gestures. The story closed on a crisp spring evening at Denver's community fair, the same event that had hummed in the background of Emily's bank ordeal. Under a canopy of twinkling lights, Emily stood at a booth, her table covered with bookmarks, each one a vibrant testament to her dream. Families stopped to buy, their smiles warm, their words kind. "Everyone deserves a chance," Emily said to a young girl who admired a bookmark with a pressed daisy. Her words, simple yet profound, echoed a truth that Denver and America wouldn't forget. Her radiant smile, framed by the fair's glow, was a promise of hope, a testament to the power of resilience and community. This story carries deep lessons for us all. Emily's courage teaches us that strength lies in standing up, even when the world tries to push you down. Her triumph reminds us that respect isn't a privilege, it's a right, one we must demand for ourselves and others. The community's support shows that change begins when we lift each other up, turning individual fights into collective victories. Keanu's allyship underscores the power of using our voices, famous or not, to challenge injustice. And the bank's reforms highlight that systemic change is possible when we hold institutions accountable. Most of all, Emily's story is a call to action, to see people, not labels, to value dignity over efficiency, to build a world where everyone has a seat at the table. To you, our incredible audience, thank you for joining us on this journey. Your support fuels these stories of hope, compassion, and resilience, reminding us that together, we can make a difference. If Emily's story moved you, please subscribe to our channel, click that button, and join our community. Tomorrow, we have another inspiring tale waiting, one that will warm your heart and spark your spirit. Let's keep sharing stories that matter, stories that change the world, one moment at a time.